Camilla Parker Bowles has come a long way in the eyes of her nation and the world.
The secret tapes her family desperately tried to stop. In a moment, you'll see why.
The courtroom fell into a stunned silence as King Charles and Queen Camilla took the stand. Something no one ever imagined would happen. With solemn expressions and trembling voices, they offered a public apology, leaving the entire nation in shock. But what could have possibly gone so wrong that the royal couple themselves were forced to explain everything, under oath? As details poured out, secrets long buried within palace walls began to surface. This isn't just another royal scandal. This is history unfolding in real time, and the truth changes everything. Surprising court testimony. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. All eyes turned to Queen Camilla as she walked in, not in the dazzling royal gowns she was known for, but in a dark navy blue dress, a symbol of mourning and seriousness. Her usual royal grace and calm seemed to have vanished. Instead, she looked like someone weighed down by time and emotion, as if she had aged in just a few weeks. Her hands shook slightly as she sat down in the witness box. Presiding over this historic and highly unusual hearing was Judge Richard Harrington, who had been specially chosen to handle the matter. His voice was firm as he reminded everyone in the courtroom and the world watching live that even royalty must speak the truth like anyone else. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice echoing off the stone walls, "you have requested to appear before this court to address certain matters regarding the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. You may begin." Camilla nodded slowly. She took a long, shaky breath and leaned toward the microphone. "Thank you, Your Honor," she began. "Today, I'm not speaking to you as Queen Consort. I'm here simply as Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman I was back in August 1997. I have come forward to take responsibility for my part in what happened surrounding Diana's death, and to offer an apology, though I know it comes far too late." Gasps filled the courtroom. The audience was visibly stunned. Around the globe, millions were glued to their screens, barely breathing. After so many years filled with rumors, conspiracy theories, and official silence, was this finally the moment the world would hear the truth? Once the judge called for silence, Camilla went on. "I want to be absolutely clear," she said firmly. "Neither I nor Charles, His Majesty the King, ever gave any order or made any plan to harm Diana. That idea, which has been whispered about for years, is completely untrue." According to her testimony, in the summer of 1997, Camilla had grown increasingly anxious about Diana's deepening relationship with Dodi Fayed, and especially about their planned trip to Paris. But it wasn't jealousy, she insisted. It wasn't about love or rivalry, she explained. It was fear. Fear of what Diana might reveal during this new chapter of her life. Diana knew things. Secrets about the royal family, about Charles, about me. Things that could have been deeply damaging if they had ever been made public. Camilla admitted that she had reached out, through go-betweens, to people who had been quietly watching Diana's movements. Not to harm her, she stressed, but to make sure we were warned in advance if she was planning to share anything dangerous or damaging. Then came the part of her confession that truly shocked the court. She explained how those routine surveillance steps spiraled out of control. Camilla had contacted a former security officer who had ties to British and French intelligence. This man had worked before on keeping sensitive royal information quiet. "I asked him to keep an eye on who Diana was meeting in Paris and what they might be talking about," Camilla said. "Just simple monitoring, nothing more." But things didn't go as she expected. Unknown to her, the security contact had taken things further. He had approached Henri Paul, the deputy head of security at the Ritz Hotel in Paris, and persuaded him to spy on Diana. Henri Paul, who would later be revealed as the driver during the deadly crash, was apparently pressured due to past incidents where he'd accepted money in exchange for information about hotel guests. "What I didn't know," Camilla said, her voice breaking with emotion, "was that this operative also told Mr. Paul that it would be helpful if Diana and Dodi left through the back exit to avoid the paparazzi, and that he should drive fast enough to make it hard for photographers to catch up." Gasps filled the room again. Camilla admitted that no one had ever given an order to cause harm, but her actions The request for surveillance, the people involved, the lack of oversight, had created a chain reaction. It was a tragic miscalculation, she confessed, by people acting on my behalf, but not under my direct control. A miscalculation that cost Diana her life. But could there be any possibility of cover-up? Let's find out. The haunting tale of concealment. As shocking as the truth behind Princess Diana's tragic crash might be,
Thursday marks 20 years since Princess Diana was killed in a car crash inside a Paris tunnel.
what came next was even more disturbing. Camilla's chilling account of the cover-up that followed. In her sworn testimony, Camilla revealed something that turned years of public belief upside down. When the news of Diana's accident reached London, Camilla's first phone call wasn't to Prince Charles, as many had always assumed. Instead, it was to a high-level security agent she had secretly been working with. "I had to find out exactly what had gone wrong," she confessed, and whether it could be traced back to the quiet investigation I had been carrying out behind the scenes. What she discovered left her stunned. "This wasn't how it was supposed to go," she said, her voice trembling. "No one was supposed to get hurt." According to her, the entire operation was meant to be nothing more than quiet observation. Maybe a gentle attempt to discourage Diana's relationship with Dodi Fayed. But something had gone horribly, fatally wrong. Camilla went on to describe how, within mere hours of the crash, a small group of officials had already sprung into action, not to seek justice or find the full truth, but to cover up any link between royal concerns about Diana and the tragedy that had unfolded in that Paris tunnel. Critical documents mysteriously vanished from government archives. Witnesses were discreetly pressured to change or soften their statements. And the French investigation was quietly steered toward blaming two convenient scapegoats: the reckless paparazzi and the allegedly drunk driver, Henri Paul. When traces of antidepressants and other substances were found in the driver's system, it was treated as the perfect explanation. A neat little story that helped bury any deeper questions. "I convinced myself it was the right thing to do," Camilla admitted. "I thought I was protecting the monarchy, protecting Charles, protecting the boys." She paused before adding, "But deep down, I realize now, I was really protecting myself from facing what I had helped set in motion." But things began to change after Queen Elizabeth's death.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
When Charles became king and Camilla became queen consort.
Buckingham Palace on the day King Charles and Queen Camilla were crowned before the eyes of the world.
"Wearing the crown forced me to look back at how I got here," she said. And the burden of that lie grew too heavy to carry. What truly broke her, however, was something much more personal. It came when Prince William told her that his daughter, little Princess Charlotte, had started asking about the grandmother she never got to meet. William said Charlotte asked if the rumors about me being involved in Diana's death were true, Camilla shared. When I saw the pain in his eyes, I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. But the truth wasn't just coming out because of guilt. Camilla also admitted that her confession was, in part, forced by a shocking development. New evidence had recently surfaced. The very same security operative she once worked with had left behind a deathbed confession, complete with documents and records of everything he'd done. He had kept them as insurance, just in case. Now, those papers had landed on the desk of a public prosecutor, triggering a fresh investigation into Diana's death. "I could have tried to deny it all," Camilla said, "but it would have come out anyway, and I couldn't live with the thought of William and Harry reading about it in court files instead of hearing it from me." The shocking apology. The most powerful and emotional moment of the entire testimony came when Camilla turned her words directly to Prince William and Prince Harry. Although neither of them was physically present in the courtroom, she knew they would be watching closely. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "To William and Harry, I understand that no apology I can give will ever truly be enough. Your mother, Princess Diana, should have been there on your wedding days. She should have held her grandchildren in her arms. She deserved to live out the life she had ahead of her. I never meant to hurt her, but the choices I made helped create the situation that led to her pain. and eventually her death. For that, I am deeply, overwhelmingly sorry. Sorry beyond words, beyond forgiveness. Then, turning back to the judge, Camilla continued with a heavy heart. I accept whatever punishment the court sees fit for my part in all of this, for both what happened and the years spent hiding the truth. I'm not here to ask for forgiveness because I don't even know if that's something I have the right to hope for. All I ask is the chance to finally speak the truth, for Diana's memory and for the sake of her sons. As Camilla finished speaking, a heavy silence fell across the courtroom. Every person there was left stunned. The woman who had become Queen Consort of the United Kingdom had just publicly admitted her involvement in the chain of events that led to the tragic death of Princess Diana, and to years of secrecy that followed. It was a moment no one had ever imagined would actually happen. The ripple effect was immediate. The court paused to take in the gravity of what had just been said. Legal experts quickly began to weigh in on what consequences might follow. Although Camilla hadn't admitted to deliberately causing harm, she had confessed to starting the surveillance that ultimately led to the fatal car crash, and to helping hide important information afterward. This could lead to serious charges, including conspiracy, and possibly even involuntary manslaughter. The British monarchy now found itself facing a crisis like no other in modern history. King Charles was said to have known Camilla planned to speak in court, but he reportedly had no idea she would reveal so much. Palace insiders said the king was heartbroken and shaken, but that he respected her decision to finally tell the truth. Prince William and Prince Harry, who have had a strained relationship for years, were said to have spoken to each other by phone shortly after the testimony ended. While neither of them made a public statement right away, sources close to both families said they were trying to come to terms with the shocking revelations, leaning on their loved ones for support. Meanwhile, the public reaction was swift and emotional. Crowds began gathering outside Buckingham Palace. Some people were demanding King Charles step down from the throne. Others came simply to leave flowers and pay tribute to Diana, who even after all these years still lived on in the hearts of many as the people's princess. So, what will happen to Camilla? Let's explore further. Camilla's fate. After King Charles and Princess Diana went through a messy and very public divorce, people in Britain slowly started to accept the idea of Camilla becoming queen one day. The tide seemed to be turning in her favor. But everything changed in an instant the night Diana died. Just before the news of Diana's death made headlines around the world, Charles received a phone call that his former wife had been in a terrible car accident. Instead of immediately telling the Queen, who was with him at Balmoral Castle, enjoying the summer holidays with their children and grandchildren, Charles picked up the phone and called the one person he always turned to, Camilla Parker Bowles, his longtime mistress. As she had done so many times over the years, Camilla calmed him down. She told him not to worry. Diana was young and healthy. Surely she would survive. Both Charles and Camilla agreed that Diana, always in great physical shape, would pull through whatever injuries she had suffered. When Charles called again with the devastating news, Camilla was stunned. She gasped in disbelief, then reached for a cigarette from the nightstand, lit it with shaking hands, and took a long, anxious puff as Charles wept on the other end of the line. His reaction didn't surprise her. Diana was, after all, the mother of his two sons. His heartbreak was expected. They decided not to wake William and Harry just yet. Let the boys have one last peaceful night of sleep before their world shattered in the morning. But Charles and Camilla weren't only crying over Diana's death. They were also crying for themselves, for their uncertain future. Charles, his voice heavy with emotion, asked the silent question that was on both their minds. What happens to us now? In the nearly 5 years since Prime Minister John Major had announced that Charles and Diana were separating, Camilla had slowly begun to gain some public sympathy. Just weeks before Diana's death, Charles had thrown Camilla a grand party for her 50th birthday, and the media buzzed with stories about the two of them finally stepping into the light as a couple. Polls showed that 68% of Britons now believed it was time for Charles to marry her. Diana, meanwhile, had become the center of a media frenzy due to her relationship with Egyptian film producer Dodi Fayed. Charles had started to feel confident. Maybe now the British public was ready to accept Camilla. Their future together suddenly seemed more possible than ever. Camilla was even set to co-host a glamorous celebrity charity ball to raise money for the National Osteoporosis Society. It was going to be her big public debut beside Charles, a sign that they were ready to face the world as a couple. But the moment Diana's death was announced, everything was called off. The charity ball was cancelled, their vacation plans at Balmoral were shelved, and the dream of marriage? It suddenly looked impossible. According to the Daily Mail, if Charles had been planning to eventually marry the woman he'd loved for decades, he now knew that dream had to be postponed, possibly forever. Some people in their inner circle even whispered that it might never happen. In the court of public opinion, Camilla was once again cast as the villain. Just when she had managed to divorce her husband Andrew Parker Bowles in 1995 and was starting to be seen in a better light, the tide turned once more. Many blamed her for destroying Charles and Diana's marriage and for pushing Diana into the deep emotional pain that followed. Camilla reportedly told neighbors, "The public needs someone to blame, and it's going to be me." Indeed, Camilla became the symbol of everything that had gone wrong. She was blamed for Diana's heartbreak. The cause of the crash, however, was initially pinned on the paparazzi, who had been chasing Diana and Dodi into the Paris tunnel where their car crashed. Still, Camilla wasn't so sure. She asked Charles, almost in a whisper, "Are we sure this was just an accident? Could someone have done this on purpose?" Charles snapped back, irritated. "What are you talking about? It was the bloody photographers." Camilla never brought it up again, but she wasn't the only one with doubt. Dodi's father, the outspoken and flamboyant businessman Mohammed Al-Fayed, owner of Harrods in London and the Ritz Hotel in Paris, shared her suspicion. When he heard about the crash at his lavish estate in Oxfordshire, he was quick to voice the same questions. Despite showing some sympathy for Diana and her sons, Camilla's biggest worry seemed to be her own public image and Charles. He seemed willing to go to great lengths to protect both her and himself. What could the prince have done at that moment? Let's take a closer look. A royal rivalry. During her time as a working member of the royal family, the late Princess Diana captured the hearts of people everywhere. She became so deeply loved by the public that they began calling her the People's Princess. Her kindness, grace, and compassion earned her admiration from millions around the world. So when it became clear that her husband, now King Charles III, who was then Prince Charles, was having an affair with Camilla, people were quick to take Diana's side. Charles's betrayal deeply hurt Diana, but she didn't let it break her spirit. Instead, she chose to face the situation head-on. One moment, in particular, stands out as a powerful act of courage. When she decided to confront Camilla directly. Camilla's sister, Annabelle Elliot, was throwing a party, and Diana received an invitation. Nobody really expected her to attend. She wasn't particularly close to anyone at the event, and the atmosphere would likely be tense. But to everyone's surprise, Diana showed up. As she entered the room, it was as if time froze. Guests turned in stunned silence. The princess's unexpected arrival sent a wave of shock through the crowd. It was like something out of a dramatic film. For about an hour, Diana remained at the party, enduring the awkwardness of being surrounded by people who didn't quite know how to react to her presence. Then, she quietly signaled to one of her bodyguards. When he joined her, she whispered that she needed him to help her find either her husband or Camilla. The bodyguard could tell from her expression that she was upset, and of course, he followed her. Eventually, they discovered Charles and Camilla sitting together on a couch in the basement, having a private conversation. They seemed relaxed and at ease in each other's company, too comfortable for Diana's liking. Diana took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and walked right up to them. With surprising calm and confidence, she looked Camilla in the eye and said, "Please don't treat me like I'm stupid. I know exactly what's going on." It was the first time she had ever confronted Camilla so directly. and her bravery in that moment left even her bodyguards speechless. Camilla, however, didn't back down. She responded quickly with a remark that stung. She pointed out that Diana had two wonderful sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and suggested that should be enough for her. It was a way of saying, be content with what you have, while also hinting that her relationship with Charles wasn't going to end. What are your thoughts on Queen Camilla and Charles's surprising apology in court? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.